No, Joe. Well, James, what do you think about that? He's coming in there. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you didn't hear us talking before we got going here. We were talking about everything under the sun. Hello, you guys. Hello, you guys, and forgive me for typing welcome lively stones. It's supposed to be stones. Hey, Pat, you're the early bird. Dee Dee, you're second runner up. Pat's hungry tonight. She's hungry. And glad to see you guys here. Hey, sissy and brother-in-law. Hey, Apostle Norman. We did get your gift, Norman. Thank you.
Did?
Yes.
Oh, I remember him saying that. I forgot about it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Deb. Hey, Joe. I'm glad you guys are here. Hey, James D. Linda Langdon. So glad you're here, sweetheart. She said, happy to be with you. So disappointed, Miss Lester. Yeah, we missed you, sweetie. We'll do it again. So don't worry. We'll do it again so you can show up for us. Let's see. Who else is here? Judy Jude. Hey, Judy. We missed you too, darling. Good evening to you. Good evening to you. Could you guys not hear us? Make sure we can be heard and seen. I thought I had everything on, but I want to make sure. And I've got a little delay in the camera. Not sure why, but we're gonna move. We're gonna move forward. Hello, Sandra. I'm glad you guys are here. So you want to jump in?
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys being online with us last night for the celebration of the birthday
and for all of the gifts. Some of them
gifts.
some of them weren't on the Zoom, but they sent you gifts. So
and I thank you so much for that. And
thank you so much.
Everything is still okie dokie.
Yeah, Pastor was really blessed by your responses. So and thank you.
Blessed again to see you come back again and be with us on in our class tonight. One of the most important things that you could face right now is the realization that you, as a spirit, eternal spirit, always have been. This would be the foundation of everything we say in these classes, that you have always been an eternal essence.
John Grayson says, good evening, Pastor, especially the birthday guy. Happy birthday. Okay. Thank you, John.
John, you okay? I thought about you all day today in that area, what you said.
No,
and
that's
not the one. That was
John. That Buzz?
That was Buzz.
That was
I'm
Buzz.
Sorry. That was Buzz. I'm sorry, John. That was Buzz. He made some good statements.
On the Zoom last night.
Mm-hmm. But you making a statement also with your presence with us tonight.
Yeah.
And I thank you for the beingness of your identity being seen. That is invisible by you coming on this side is the manifestation of facts.
Now Buzz has just come
Buzz. In. Yeah.
Hey, Buzz. There he is.
Okay, Buzz Jr.
I'm glad you were able to make it.
Yeah.
It's not usually here on Tuesday, but I'm glad you're here, Buzz.
Yeah, but last night I was just telling about how the statement that you said was so profound and healing and encouraging, Buzz. I appreciate it. And I can see and hear through your statement the gratitude of thankfulness that you have toward this. And I would like to see and hear you continuing on, even if we were not on here. I would like to know that you are advancing further into the depthness of seeing more and more in awareness of your true identity.
Well, I think I would like to read this, if you don't mind, honey.
Okay.
If you're in a hurry, I won't do it.
No,
but
go ahead.
If you have a minute, you can hold your horse. I'd like for you guys to do this with me. This is my Lord's Prayer that I wrote, and I want you to repeat after me if you would. And I know that you're centered already. You should be already, because you know who you are. I know you know who you are. So this is the Lord's Prayer, and that I revised from the biblical scriptural prayer. So if you would just repeat after me, and it goes like this. Almighty God, I appeal to you, the one who is all and is the source of all, the one to whom we here on earth call Father. You are the one who dwells as the essence of everything, that which exists both visible and invisible. We appeal to you, the one who lives within the hearts and souls of every man, every woman, and every child. Holy is your name, which is uttered when we say the words, I am. Hear this prayer, which issues forth from my heart. Shall your kingdom be recognized and realized in these bodies made from the earth, as it is in all dimensions beyond this physical existence. Give us this day and present to us everything that is needed to inspire and invoke us to live in alignment with your love and forgiveness. Give us the courage to accept the truth of your nature, the truth of undying love for us, the love that has declared us innocent, the love which holds no persons guilty. And in like kind and by your grace, we too release all grievances held against others. Grant that we may live in the abundance of that grace, the grace which awakens us from the dream of separation, the grace which opens our eyes to see you as the source of all that is, the grace which causes us to view adversity as a teacher, eliminating the belief in an opposing force. All that is belongs to your domain. And there is nothing more powerful in existence than the power of your love and mercy. And as we dare to live from our hearts, our very lives will glorify you. The glory that is, that ever has been, or ever will be, belongs to you forever, throughout eternity. So let it be done, and so it is. Amen. What you think?
That's great. Okay. I have something here that I just run across while she was reading in the 5th chapter of John. It's got between 28th, 29th verse. And this is what I've been saying to you, that we are, and have always been eternal before receiving Jesus or accepting him as real or not. We still have the quality and is the quality of eternal life. Here's what he said here.
Yes.
If you're going to go by the book, I didn't go by the book to find out what I did. I just know by reality and facts.
Okay.
And he's talking about marvel not as this, for the hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice. Okay. Let's go physical for a second if you want to. You don't have to. It doesn't change anything. And shall come forth they that have done good. They that have done good.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say anything about being saved and receiving him, just doing good. Unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. He said, there shall come forth that which is they that are good, and unto the resurrection of life. The resurrection of life. You are in your essence the resurrection life, or the life, the absolute pure life of God is the reason why every person on the earth exists, whether they be good, bad, evil, saved or not.
Wow. Wow.
And I said it said it right there. You read the whole chapter if you want to. If you don't believe it, it's fine. You know, being a monkey and showing your tail don't change the essence of being eternal. Being in the Baptist, Methodist, Holiness, Church of God in Christ, or any religious status will not interfere with you being eternal. Going to hell does not end your eternity. It's just that eternity is who you are going or not going.
And not being in any spiritual community
That's
doesn't
right.
affect
That's what I'm saying.
that you are,
That's what
which
I'm
is
saying.
eternal. And I want to say to Vincent, sorry, Vincent Kelly, I did send it out, sweetheart. I don't know what happened. I had some trouble with the Gmail at one point, so I'm not sure what happened. I did have your email. I don't know what happened, but we'll do it again, and I'll make sure that you get it. I am so sorry, but thank you for the happy birthday, hon.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're still right in the center of our heart. Okay, you're right there. Now, if Jesus said that the Jews sought more to kill him because he not only had broken the Sabbath day, they said, but said also that God was his father, making himself equal. And in the book it said he thought it not robbery to be equal with God. So we are. And I told somebody last night, when Jesus was born, physical body, the essence of every one of us on this site tonight was inside of Mary before he was conceived. After he was conceived, we were still there in essence. Yeah. And we were also in the words and in the angelic presence, the essence of God. And already being there, we did not miss anything and could not lose anything of the quality of our life, of essence, being there or not there. Yeah. We are still eternal. Yes. So that throws light on the book and all the other books and publishers that we are more than just what we've been publishing in paper. And our gala, I hear the word gala. I don't know what that means.
It's like a party.
Yeah. Our true gatherings of God is him gathered himself in our form. I'm sorry if you want to fuss about it, it's okay. It ain't going to change it. Matter of fact, it's going to amplify it. Opposites speak to each other to verify the authenticity of existence. Now, there's no reason why there should be any argument, but if it is, it's in your head, it's in your mind. It is in the fact that you're more focused on the physical, because again, I said these bodies that we have are suits, like a space person, astronaut going to space. He has to wear a different kind of suit in order to exist in that atmosphere. In order to exist in this atmosphere of the sleep or the dream, whatever you want to call it, we have to wear a certain kind of suit, and we have to use the oxygen and the breath of each other in the universe to sustain these bodies. But here's the clue. If we leave, which is spirit, you got to put your awareness, your attention on spirit. Get off of this, get up off of your James Brown and go spirit. And you will understand what I'm saying. It won't be so hard. You don't even have to read it here. You don't have to find it here. You don't need, all you need to know is that when the time comes for your body to lay down, you still exist. And as I've studied into near-death experiences and life after death, that is telling you that is really popular in the earth nowadays.
Yes. Well, I'll go back to something that you mentioned a moment ago when you read the scriptures. It said Jesus thought it not robbery to think himself equal with God. And I want to, sometimes when we hear the word equal, our minds will kick it out. And you were saying, you know, some of us will have trouble with that. But when you think of equal, it means same as. And I know there have been many times when I said to God, I don't know what you are. There's no way for my human mind to know what you are as God, because that means there's absolutely no limitations upon you. There's absolutely no way I can conjure an image of you because you're not a physical body, a physical form. So I have nothing to compare God with. So when I think of God, I often say, I don't know what you are, but I know whatever you are, I am the same. So equal means the same as.
Now, I just run across a testimony of a young man that he had a brother, and he passed, crossed over, or you might say he died.
He went to his next life.
But anyway.
Non-earth life.
Right. He left his body, and the family was really grieving over this. And he said, one night the telephone rang, and he listened to it, and it sounded like the telephone ringing would start and then just gradually fade out. It was different, but it was actual telephone. So he picked it up. And when he picked the telephone up, it was his brother who had died or crossed over. His deceased brother talked to him on the telephone.
Reached out through the telephone.
The vibrational
frequency. We have a friend whose husband did that when he passed. Called the son on the cell phone, but there was no way he could have physically done it because he had already crossed over.
And he said to tell his mother that he made it on the other side, and he's doing fine. Him and the Lord was okay, and he made it.
Right.
So he didn't. The young man said he didn't know how to tell the family who he just talked to on the telephone because the guy, his brother, had been crossed over for. He
knew they wouldn't believe it.
They wouldn't believe it.
Right.
No, they wouldn't believe it.
Right.
And he finally got up enough punch in him to tell his mama. And you know what his mama said? She said, I felt like that call was him.
Wow.
She knew that phone call was different from any other.
Our loved ones do reach out. A lot of times, especially when it hasn't been a long time since they passed, you may smell their familiar smell. If they like, say, for instance, if they liked butterflies, you may see a lot of butterflies and they may hang around. Just different things like that. You may hear a song or something that they really liked and hear it more often than usual. So they're always trying to connect with us in this physical realm to let us know that they're still alive and that they're okay.
And because we have this treasure in an earthen vessel, does not cancel out eternal life.
Exactly. I wanted to put up what Vincent said. Thank you, Vincent. He says, yes, because we are multidimensional beings. Earth existing in the third dimension, we have to be humans to experience this level of or realm. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. However, we are not separate from the source. We are one with the source as the source. Good stuff. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It
Jesus
is
said
good
that
stuff.
him and the Father were one.
The fourth and the fifth dimensions are the dimensions of oneness. And that it's not so much a spooky spiritual dimension. It's just one that we cannot, with our physical eyes and physical senses, detect. Every now and then, though, one of us will have the ability through our third eye
Mm-hmm.
to sense and detect that fourth and fifth dimension.
Okay. We in 14:7 it said, if ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. And from henceforth ye know him and have seen him. Now, we can say the same thing.
Sure, sure.
And when I say it, I'm not talking about mechanically saying it, just to repeat in front of somebody something that they would accept or not accept.
Right.
He's saying this is a fact. You are eternal.
Yes.
We can't say it enough, because some of us are left-brained strength.
Mm-hmm.
The left-brained strength, and some of us are more right-brained strength.
And left-brained simply means it has to make sense to some of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that. It has to make sense to me. And
she's
then,
like that if she identifies with the physical.
Right. But then after over a period of time, you become whole-brained.
Yeah.
In your learning and in your understanding. So I tend to go back and forth. So, but I know my dominant strategy is usually logical. And so when I hear what you say as a mystic, it makes complete sense to you. And so when you say something, sometimes I have to go right back behind it and say how I interpret it. And that's so that logical people can get it.
Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Now, everyday conversation, inside of every word, whether good or bad, there is a life force moving factor.
Yes.
You are reality. You give God the definition of existence.
Yes. That, in fact, there's really no other way for God to be to really manifest except through and by those of us who are physical beings.
No, we're not overstating this. We're not saying something to make you scratch your ears, make you feel good. Nope. When I found this out, it threw a different way of looking at church, physical conditions, everything that I've been through, my past, if I had one. And I can look now at God in every man. Now, you might see some of, I've mentioned it before, I don't do this often, to some of the evangelicals that I know, and they said, you coming from the Eastern scent. No, I'm coming from... I'm coming from anybody's scent.
Yeah, but in a way you are coming from the Eastern focus, because the Western focus is all left brain. Everything's got to be understood. And then because we're so egotistical in our thinking, we think when we get it, we've got to do it. And so that's the I'll say the sickness of the West. But in the East, they are more mystical. They're open to the mysteries and are not so much into doing as they are into knowing or knowing and being.
The water that we drink, it seems like it has something to do with refreshing the life in the body. But here's the clue, the mystery of us, all of us. Stay where you are. Don't move from this body. Stay right there. Let God, your true identity, let God, your present now self, let God, your Holy Spirit self,
Yeah.
just sit still and pay attention to your mind as I say these things. It will try its best to talk you out of it. Or it will, since it can't fight anymore, with some of you who already knew it, it will appease you to a certain point and call itself accepting what has been said about eternalness, but yet all the time there's a part of you that really, when something of an emergency come up, it backs off. It, in other words,
Yeah.
yeah,
we fall into being very human
mhm,
and very panicky and
mhm,
limited at that point.
So now, whether you see, there are a lot of people that know what I'm talking about or what we're saying tonight
Oh yeah.
that can't even read.
Yeah. I mean, and there's some who can. It's just we're not experts.
That's
And we're
right.
just we're just two people who have been graced to see. And sometimes our seeing, though, we're not able to convey what we see.
God, in our essence, has always been with us, in us, as us, in the essence of eternal spirit. With salvation, you might have a different meaning, but you got to go back home to the essence because that is where God originally reveals himself before you ever. He said, I rest my case.
What case is that?
That we are what he is. Inside of Mary was our essence, listening and observing and participating. Oh, here it comes in the birth of the physical body of Jesus.
Yes. Now, Judy says truth shows up wherever it can be received.
And you know what, Miss Judy? You know what, Miss Judy? When I was living with my uncle, you could say anything you want to from the Bible, and you know it is true. There's always somebody leaning on the wall that's going to confront what the book said and what you just said.
Of course. Yes,
and
of course.
I remember they used to get into some around the moonshine table. They get in some of the most religious, spiritual battles.
You know, it reminds me of Maury Povich. Most of you guys have seen Maury Povich, I'm sure, where you find out who's the baby daddy. And sometimes the lady doesn't know if it's who it is. I saw one lady on there. She had about 10 different men, and neither one of them was the baby daddy.
And she was trying to claim that the one that was there was, and it found out he wasn't.
It was really funny because there were so many times she believed that was the baby daddy. So belief doesn't work. Belief is still uncertain. And she was so adamant. I know he's the father. And then when Maury come back, he said, "You are not the father." She was and runs off the stage. So that's the difference in belief and knowing. Yeah. She did not know, but she was believing.
That's the difference between faith and facts. Moving from foolishness, presumption into reality. When I saw this, Miss Judy, I'm telling you the truth. When I saw this, it opened my awareness and eyes to see angels around people. It opened my eyes to see the essence of who I'm talking to. Even I can even feel the eyes of all of you looking at the screen, because something about waking up to your essence opens up a door of discernment, perception, insight, and reveals to you more of the spontaneousness of the things of the spirit, where before then everybody was trying to get God to show, get more of God, hear his voice clearer, get him to speak about certain events and subjects, trying to get him to respond to a need. What we're talking about again is the collapsing of the distance between us and God. That collapsing is one of the most amazing experiences. Awareness. I'm telling you, days are getting longer, nights are getting
Well,
shorter.
I do know this in this third dimension that we live in, this physical existence, power is needed, but it's not power in the sense of like you were talking about the policeman. He puts on his uniform and he just simply stands in the street and he could put his hand up like that and you stop. That's not power.
That's right.
That's authority. He is authentically the one who can say stop and you must stop. Power is if he grabbed that car and held it back. So it is power that we need in this physical realm, but it's not power in the sense of force. It's power in the sense of authenticity.
There's a song we used to sing in church, and now I'll define it for you. It says, when I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down. Or you might say, when we get to heaven, we're going to sit down and rest a little while. Now,
they were tired.
Yeah. Now,
that probably came from the slaves too. Now, they were tired.
You don't have to get there to sit down. You are it. So you might well sit down before you get there.
And there's a scripture, where it says that we are all seated with him.
Oh, look out there.
In heavenly places.
In
but
that rest.
That we that's seated is not the we that's walking on the earth here. It's the we that is in the essence, that is the essence of that's walking in this earth.
Smile. Though your life seems miserable, smile. Look at yourself in the midst of calamity, in the midst of suffering. Now, where the rubber meets the road is, some of us, when we get emotional,
we lose it.
We say, I got it. But just as soon as somebody come along and hit your finger with a hammer, or hit your hammer with a finger, you lose all that. I got it. You say, I thought I had it, but I let it get away. Okie dokie. Oop, poop, and do.
I had my big friend in school that I told you about, Fletcher. She was a really big girl, and Fletcher. I was always real small, so she would fight for me, so I didn't have to worry about anybody messing with me. But anyway, Fletcher, when she would when something like that would happen, instead of her cussing, she would say, God bless America. So, we usually lose it.
A lady, I was sitting in the parking lot of the grocery store. This lady come out of the grocery store with a whole big bag of wine, and she dropped one out of the bag.
That happened to me.
And it exploded on the.
That happened to me.
Well, wait a minute. That was another lady.
There was another lady you had that happen?
No, I saw it happen.
You did? You weren't with me.
No, there's another lady I saw.
Oh,
and
okay.
And she dropped one. She said, "Oh, Jesus, take the wheel."
Well, that's what happened to me.
What happened to her? I tell you, I keep telling you now. You need to.
I think you got the two stories mixed up.
No, I didn't. I saw it down at the Harris Tweeter. You need to drink some more of that juice out of that cup, there, girl. Thing, I saw her. She was tall girl, tall, not you.
Not the one I saw.
Not
this
you.
Is another one.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And she said, Jesus, take the wheel. I looked around and I said, she talking to me. Now listen, here it is. Transfer the attention from you being the sense man, the physical, the mental, the psychological. Transfer that over to eternal. It'll throw a different awareness of looking, seeing, and experiencing.
Well, I think that when we have incidents come up that are hard for us to accept, there is no pat answer for how you should deal, how you should behave, how you should react. You don't really know how you're going to react at that moment. But what I do know is this: if you can see through what's happening and not take it as serious as it appears, most of the things that are happening to us, if we look at it a week from now, it would be over. but at the moment it feels so devastating. Now I know there are some things that don't go away like that, but for the most part, 98% of the time it's stuff that's going to pass, and we don't allow it to we blow it up and inflate it so much. I want to address what Vincent said here. Let's see. He said, at that point, you're operating in the oneness. You are us as us. And then he asks a question. You listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. Vincent asks this question. In the higher dimensions, the energy needed is on a higher vibrational field, right? Is this why Jesus often went alone to center, to be alone, to center, focus on that energy? Since we are density beings as well. What do you think?
I hear what he's saying.
Is this why Jesus often went out to himself and to center, to focus?
And because you're in these physical bodies as eternalness, there are moments that the mind will pull your attention, even though you are isolated in eternal essence, that you have no friends and you are lonely, and everything else around you is happy but that's not a true definition.
And I think he's asking the question, is it necessary to pull away and go into a solitary place? I think that's what Vincent is asking. Go into a solitary place so that you can center yourself and focus.
Your eternal essence does not get in trouble.
Right. So what has to pull away is the sense being.
Attention.
The sensual being.
Your focus, your attention. That means that there's nothing else for you to do to get anything from God. Right. But pay attention. And even that is a grace.
Yes, it is.
It is a grace. And it's not greasy grace either, like chicken grease and duck grease and
why are you thinking about
ham grease? I'm saying that because
chicken grease and ham grease.
Yeah, we say greasy grace. In other words, we feel like we slipping and sliding, peeping and hiding. Been told a long time ago.
So for me, it's not how long I can stay centered.
But that's what I'm saying.
How often in the day can I go back to being centered? I think that for me has been the goal. So, because a lot of times we think, well, I should be like this the whole day. I should be walking around about 5 feet off the ground. Oh, that's not realistic. But how often can I pull myself away from what the mind is predicting? How often can I pull myself away from the emergency emotions? Can I do it quickly, or does it take me a while? And I measure that because all of us react and act humanly. And so that's not going to change.
That's right. There's another statement that says this: the nature of our eternal self does not get in trouble when the body gets in trouble, but is involved in the situation through existence. Pretty soon, that has weight and shape and form. I've heard in heaven that a lot of people will see Jesus or see a loved one as a light being, eternalness, and yet the face is not distinguishable, but the presence of them is made known to those that go over there. That tells me right there that in the face of the spirit, we take on many identities. And, this thing is just so light and so feathery in the sense that it does not weigh you down. Yes. And it does not burden you the way you used to have grief. Now, last time we were on, we were talking about grief as groaning
through your pain. Us. Yes, groaning through your pain.
The more you go into this, sweetheart, the more you go into this, you're going to find yourself sensing the groanings inside of you, travailing, not because you're trying to get somebody saved, but it's because that's the natural tendency of an empathic
and
oneness being identity.
and the somebody that needs the salvation at that point is you, because you're in the troubling.
Oh,
I won't say in trouble.
You got it.
You're not in trouble, but you're in the troubling. So the troubling is where the groanings come in.
You can see and hear with your true seeing, hearing self.
Yeah.
On the other side, my experience is my whole spirit anatomy could see. My whole spirit anatomy could hear. My whole spirit anatomy could go through walls. My whole spirit anatomy could walk in a restaurant or a store as a spirit eternal, walk straight through people and come out on the other side and turn around and look at them, and could see the spirit of them looking out of their bodies at us. This is so weird. Something like a sci-fi theater, but it's real. It's so real. Now, the history of the physical body does not stop. The physical body senses of experiencing things day to day on our jobs and in our relationship physical does not and cannot, here it is, it cannot ever interfere with the eternal essence. Hot dog.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So Vincent says, so the many identities are the past lives. Yes, they're I entities.
Mm-hmm.
However, the essence remains the same.
Right.
And that's why when you say I, when any of us say I, it can float. That I is like it's a roving I.
Yeah.
It can be I, the body speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It can be I, the psychological self, the emotional self speaking. It can be I, the spirit speaking. So
Mm-hmm.
it can float. It's like a pendulum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's like a pendulum. So he said that's how we're able to recognize our loved ones on the other side. And I'll give you a clue too, Vincent. One of the ways, years ago, this has been way back. My grandmother on my dad's side had already crossed over. I was having a night vision. Which is different than a vision, which is different than a dream. It's a vision that actually appears to you in the night. And
in your darkest hour,
in your darkest hour as well. So my grandmother came to me, but she was very young. I didn't recognize her at all. But she had a familiar thing she would do when she was in the kitchen. She would often wear an apron, and she would take the apron and she would fan it like this. She would fan it like this. So when I saw her as a very young woman, she fanned her apron, and that's how I knew who she was. So there were things familiar, because when they go so far into their non-physical, infinite self, they begin to lose some of the familiar patterns or familiar look of their physical body. And that's why in the case of Jesus, when he appeared to them after his resurrection on the Emmaus Road, they didn't even know who he was. They thought it was a stranger. He didn't appear to be the same person. So they lose some of the qualities of their personality, and so have to do something to help us to remember who they are, or recognize who they are.
In order for you as an eternal spirit to be seen in this dimension, you have to be willing as an eternal spirit to identify with the form that you're in before you get here. Before you get here into this dream, you are ready to face everything that your charts will.
And so in our case, our charts, our pre-earth chart has already something set well, not some things, all things set in it that's going to take place.
That's right. We took the responsibility willingly to come here into this dream and to make we decided to come here to make a dream look like it was true to those who seem to be trapped, in order to untrap them, not with preaching,
Right.
not with
Right.
pleading with God, but seeing, waking up to the true self. Do you know waking up to your true self is the power of what the church called the anointing? That's what I've been wanting to say. I've been trying to find a word. Waking up to your true self is when people say, if you get in church and been around it long enough, you'll understand, said, God is upon me. God is with me. God is moving through me. That is nothing more than an expressive of an abundance of seeing energy.
Yes.
That reveals that you are eternal. And some people, when that happens, their physical body want to quake and shake and jump and bump somebody, and they had to hold them up and knock somebody's wig off, and somebody be just a chicken walking in a bucket and can.
I'm glad everybody doesn't do that.
That don't mean that you're not. Don't mean that you is. But you understand that there are some people who don't have that are aware. So the key to this whole mystery.
There are more people who don't have that than are aware.
The key to this mystery is waking up. That will put you in a place of seeing, with or without an emotion. You will see an abundance of what you feel like you had to work for.
Now, Buzz asked a question we got to address before we get out of here.
Okay.
But he says, have you ever been conscious of leaving your body during sleep?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. We definitely have.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And being awake. Yes. The first time it happened to me, Buzz, I was terrified. I remember I remember feeling a sense of lifting up. And then I remember seeing a nightlight we had in the room, and I was contemplating, like, how can I see that light from where I am here? Because I had obviously raised up to a level where I could see it, because I couldn't see it if I were lying in bed. And so then I remember moving out into the hallway, and at the time we had a dog that slept in the hallway on a cushion, and his name was Bernie. And Bernie often had seizures, so he slept right close to our bedroom. And so when I remember going out to the hall, and I didn't remember walking out there, but I remember going out to the hallway and seeing him, and he looked up at me like that. And at that moment, I realized I was out of my body, and I was so afraid. And the moment I became afraid, I was zoop right back in my body.
I have been through brick and mortar and church life. I have been standing in front of people and could actually sense and be aware of myself.
You've had it quite a bit.
Yes,
You've had it quite a bit.
Oh, yes. Lordy, I had no idea that the crest of my experiences was going to be something on a continuous basis 50 some years ago. I didn't ask for it. It just temperament and grace of God. It happened. And I've taught classes on different ones about how we leave our bodies when we sleep or have a cat nap. And I've studied where there are certain people who learn how to use the cat napping. They talked about who was it that invented the sewing machine and the needle? And
the way he got that intuition.
That intuition for this needle, he saw he was in that hypnagogic state between sleep and awake. And he happened to be out of his body watching, or in his body, watching an African or somebody running through the jungle, and some spears were thrown at him. And when the spear left the person's hand, the first thing that popped up with the person that was running was a needle. And that spear went through that hole in the needle, and it was through that he discovered. And
he saw a hole in the end of the spear, and that made him know that's how to do the needle.
The spear was the needle, and he realized how to make the sewing needle. But it's these discoveries, Buzz, I'm gonna tell you, man, you out for a great, great experience. If you have or if you have not, you're gonna have more of this taking place because you're going to. The more you move beyond the limitation of this house, like we in this room now.
Oh yeah.
We're in the room looking at the room from inside. I was telling somebody on the phone that there was a lady who had a near-death experience and left her body, and when she came back to it, she was too little to fit in.
Yeah, I remember you telling us about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she was walking around through her hands, through her feet, and she was wondering how in the world am I going to enlarge myself?
We can be expansive and we can be really, really tiny outside of our body.
Somehow or another, through wisdom and insight inside as a spirit, she began to push herself out and expand her consciousness inside the body. And as she did, she popped out into her hand. She popped out in the left hand. She popped out, and she finally did it enough of a conscious awareness and expanded herself to where she was back in the body full.
See, I believe that, and I'm glad you said it, because I believe that when a baby is born, they are totally not acclimated to their bodies, and they're trying to become acclimated. The essence of being an expanded awareness of not having a limited body, they have to really acclimate to that when they first get here. I want to touch on base with what Linda says. She says, you're tested not to fail, but to confirm what you are truly.
There you go.
And she says she thinks she heard that from me. You probably heard that from me. If it sounds good, you heard it from me.
Oh, yeah. But you know what, Buzz? I'm going to tell you, man, these questions and statements are coming up because right inside of your statement and your question is the answer. And you are that answer. Yeah. You experience it.
It does happen often, Buzz. And I'll tell you, some people don't realize that it has happened when it does. Have any of you who've ever had this sensation that you couldn't move while you were in bed, that you were paralyzed? Years ago, we heard erroneously that was a demon or death trying to hold you down. And we know that's not true. What actually took place is that person left their body, and when they get back in it, they have not yet acclimated to it, and they haven't gotten control of their limbs and things yet. So that's what that means. So a lot of people have had that. They call it paralyzation, sleep paralyzation, but that's what happened.
Jesus, if you're going to use that, and of course many others that I've researched into beyond him or in him, said that the books said that he that ascended also descend, meaning in order for him to go into the underworld or the parts of the dark world or in the grave to free the saints in the Old Testament from the bondage of old way of seeing, he had to leave his body. Yeah. And the book said he preached to those that were in prison, those that were locked up in their false identity. He showed them how to get free from it. And he had to have an out-of-body experience in that percentage and that way to be able to tell them. So that means that even in the body, out of the body, you are aware. I've been sitting in church and the preacher been preaching. I thought God was listening to the preacher, but he took me out and wouldn't even listen to the preacher. And I come back, the preacher was still preaching. I done went on somewhere else and come back, and he still hadn't finished.
Yeah, somebody called it. Yvonne calls it astroplaning. Never heard that term, astroplaning, but it sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, I've heard that. I've seen that astroplaning.
Astroplaning. Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that. But you can have almost the same vacation. If you take a vacation from the mind, almost that same feeling if you take a vacation from the mind. I remember, and I think I mentioned it before in another previous setting we had, where there was one. Oftentimes we'll take a nap before we come online. Not always, but sometimes we do. And this particular day, I decided I wouldn't lay down. I would sit in my chair, and I would just sit there without any anything sensory coming in. Nothing to hear, nothing, just sitting. And I remember I sat until the point where I realized that there was this wishing for the next moment finally dissipated. It dissipated. And when I got up from the chair to do our live stream,
Mhm.
I felt as if I'd had a nap because I took a
Mhm.
break from the mind.
I
So
see
that's
Miss
what
Linda's
happened.
talking about she was woke up and simply stand outside her body and saw herself in the bed. I'm telling you,
Mhm,
this
mhm,
is a
mhm.
normal
Yeah,
thing that
it's
take
normal.
place.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the more we understand it without criticism, we will have more experiences like this. It's like
Mhm.
your inner dream mentor, your essence, is waiting for you, is waiting for your mind to get out the way.
Yeah, and I'm glad you, Vincent. I'm glad you cleared that up. I didn't know what astro planning was, but
You didn't?
astro planing, I do
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's what the same thing is.
So
Astral projection.
yeah,
Mhm.
I know what
Yeah.
that is, but I mean I didn't understand the term. But I'm glad he put that on there for so we'll know what you meant when Yvonne said that. So
Okay.
so Buzz says it's the only thing that has happened to me that I would say is peculiar to this life is something patted my shoulder that wasn't visibly there. I've had that too, Buzz. I remember that, and I'll say this quickly. We used to live in a mobile home when we first got married, and I don't remember what was going on at the time, but I was very disturbed about something to the point that I was crying. And in that trailer, you have this long hallway and then the rooms on the side. And so I remember leaning up against that wall and just boohooing. And I remember there was what I called an angel. It could have been my guide. I'm not sure. They hit me on the back and said, "What's that? Your wailing wall?" And the minute I heard that, I came out of whatever it was I was disturbed about. So yes, I've had that as well.
You are ready to travel in the body and out of the body.
Mhm.
And this does not mean that you're missing God.
Or not, it doesn't mean you're more spiritual
That's
either.
right.
Yeah.
Jesus talked about it. In order for him to speak to Lazarus to come back into his body in the 11th chapter of John, in order for him to raise the dead, he had to communicate with that part of our being that was outside of the body coming into it. So we get a new meaning and definition of those things that we've been taught that are wrong.
And
Well,
also, one last thing, and I think Vincent would appreciate this. He may have already heard about it. There was a teacher called Neville Goddard who actually used the out of body experience to go to the end of whatever it was he desired to have it manifested. For instance, if he was in a place and he wanted to be in New York and he had no money to get there, he would actually visualize not so much with his mind, but he would actually project himself to New York, spending the night in New York, and then he would actually have that manifested. So yes, and there's a little bit more to it than that, but yes, that's how he used
you guys
it.
coming up with all kinds of statements that's really good. We're gonna have to leave now, but in the physical, but we'll be still connected in our spirit.
I know. Let me read them right quick, though.
Okay.
Yvonne says, as a child, I was sleeping and I felt myself floating away, looked down and I was floating above my body, then outside of our house, then across land and trees. Yeah. And Judy says the same thing happened to her as she was crying. She said she felt like it was her deceased husband. And it probably was. It probably was.
Whenever you go to sleep at night, if you will sit down and start journaling or sit down and take a piece of paper or something and begin to doodle whatever you felt like you experienced, that would cause you to be more in contact with your mentoring self about these out of body experiences. And it's nothing wrong with the statement out of body, because Paul talked about it, whether in the body out, I cannot tell, but I knew a man. But John on the Isle of Patmos, all the prophets and all the
it was a normal thing to happen. Yeah,
it's not something the devil did, or the Bible said that you're forbidden. If that's the case, then Jesus and all the other saints and the mentors missed God, didn't they?
Yeah,
no, they didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're winding things down. We'll be back with you again on Sunday at 10 a.m.
And thank you once again for all of the Cash Apps, PayPals that you sent Pastor for his birthday. Thank you guys so much. He'll be able to get a nice Christmas present with that money.
Look at you. It helped pay for my haircut tomorrow. I mean, it ain't much up there, you know.
His touch up.
Yeah, you know.
His touch up.
My imagination up there. You know. Okay, thank you
Oh,
so
we
much.
love you so much. Have a good
Have a
turkey day.
Thanksgiving. Happy
Looking
Thanksgiving.
forward to being with the
And
families if
thank
you have it.
you so much for being here on this planet, talking to us. I love you with all the essence of God inside and outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love you guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.